All right, so we're back and ready to jump into another deep dive. Today, we're taking a look at the Grizzlies and this crazy Grizzlies-Timberwolves game from January 11th. I mean, did you see that game-winning floater by John Morant?
Yeah, that was something else, especially after he had kind of a rough night shooting overall.
It really makes you wonder, though, is this a sign of Morant, like, really starting to find his form again, you know?
Well, it's interesting because the Grizzlies hadn't exactly been on a hot streak going into that game. I think they lost 3 out of their last 4.
Oh, wow, so the pressure was on.
Yeah, for sure. And on top of that, you've got Jaren Jackson Jr. just killing it consistently, racking up points. It was kind of setting up this weird contrast, don't you think?
Absolutely. Like, on one hand, you had JJJ dominating, and then Morant having an off night but still pulling out that amazing game winner.
Exactly. JJJ had a monster game, 33 points, 8 rebounds, just completely dominant. And then you have Morant with only 12 points and shooting way below his average, but he still nails that game-winning floater. I mean, that's what separates the good from the great.
Seriously, that's clutch. It's crazy to think he only played 9 games last season, and now he's back hitting game winners like it's nothing. You gotta admire that kind of resilience.
For sure. Talk about bouncing back.
Yeah.
I mean, to overcome a setback like that, not just play, but actually perform under pressure,
Yeah.
it's a testament to his mental strength.
I think we need to hear that shot again,
Yeah,
just to let it sink in.
definitely.
Plays audio clip of Morant's game winner from the Hoop Central tweet. So after the game, Morant said, "No way I shouldn't believe in myself in those situations." It just sounds like he's got this unwavering self-belief.
It definitely speaks to his mental toughness.
Mm-hmm.
He even admitted that 2023-24 was a down year for him. And with the limited games last season, it's impressive to see him back in form and hitting game winners like that.
Right. He makes it sound so easy, too. Like in the post-game interview, he was so calm and collected.
Yeah, I saw that.
His audio clip from Grind City Media of Morant explaining his game winner, a shot I usually make. I love that. It's that quiet confidence. But it does raise a question. Was this just a lucky shot on an off night? Or is this him truly getting back to his peak?
That's a good point. It's definitely something to think about. It could be a sign of bigger things to come, or maybe just a glimpse of his clutch potential.
Yeah, exactly. And we have to consider this win in the context of the whole season. I mean, this wasn't just about Morant. It was a team effort. And it shows they can win even when he's not at his best.
Which is huge, right? Like a team that can win even when their star player is struggling,
Yeah.
that says a lot about their depth and resilience.
Absolutely. But then it also makes you think, how much better could they be if Morant is playing at his peak consistently?
Okay, so let's recap. We've got the Grizzlies fighting through a bit of a slump. We've got Jaren Jackson Jr. playing out of his mind. And we've got John Morant battling back from adversity and hitting a crazy game winner. There's a lot to unpack here. Yeah, there are a lot of layers to this. I think we should dig deeper into that down year Morant had in 2023-24. Like, what actually contributed to that dip in performance? Was it injuries, team dynamics, something else entirely?
Let's get into it. So let's break it down. What were some of the factors that played into Morant's struggles in 2023-24?
It was definitely a combination of things. He dealt with that ankle injury for a good chunk of the season.
Right. I remember that. It seemed like it was always lingering.
Yeah, it definitely limited his explosiveness. And we can't forget that the league was also catching up to his game. Teams were figuring out how to defend him better, forcing him to adjust.
Makes sense. Every star player goes through that. I mean, it's inevitable. How did he adapt to those challenges, though?
Well, that's the interesting part. He really used it as motivation to work on other aspects of his game. We saw him putting in the work on his jump shot, really trying to become a more complete scorer.
So he was expanding his skill set.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he also focused on his playmaking abilities. Even when his scoring wasn't there, he was still facilitating the offense and finding ways to make an impact.
So instead of letting the setbacks get to him, he used them to grow as a player.
Yep, and that growth is evident in moments like that game winner against the Timberwolves. Even when his shots weren't falling, he kept his cool and delivered when it mattered most.
It's almost like that game winner was a culmination of all the hard work and adjustments he's made.
Yeah, it's a testament to his perseverance and dedication. And it's not just about his individual growth either. This game also highlights how the Grizzlies have evolved as a team.
Oh, how so?
They're not just relying on Morant to carry the load every single night. Jaren Jackson Jr. had an incredible performance in that game too. Like, their chemistry is really starting to shine.
Right. We talked about JJJ's performance earlier. How would you describe how their playing styles complement each other?
I think they mesh really well.
Yeah.
Morant's speed and creativity open up so many opportunities for Jackson Jr. to knock down their shots. And when Morant drives to the basket, JJJ is always a threat for a lob or a rebound. It adds a whole other layer to their offense.
So they've got this dynamic synergy going on. What else has impressed you about the Grizzlies' team dynamics this season?
Well, they've shown a lot of adaptability. They can play a fast-paced offensive game, or they can slow it down and grind it out defensively. It makes them a tough matchup for anyone.
It definitely keeps things interesting. You never know what to expect from them.
Exactly. And they've demonstrated that same resilience as a team that we see in Morant individually. They don't fold under pressure.
Yeah, that Timberwolves game was a prime example. They didn't panic when Morant was having an off night. They trusted the system, they trusted each other, and they pulled out the win.
And that's a sign of a team that's maturing and developing a winning mentality. Not just a bunch of talented individuals anymore. They're playing like a cohesive unit.
So we've got Morant bouncing back from adversity, a dynamic duo in Morant and Jackson Jr., and a team that's showing resilience and versatility. What does this all mean for the Grizzlies' future? Are they contenders?
That's the million-dollar question. I mean, they have all the pieces, but can they put it all together consistently?
All right, so we've seen this Grizzlies team overcome adversity. They've adapted to different opponents, and they've pulled off some pretty exciting wins, but where do they go from here?
It's going to be interesting to watch them progress. I mean, we've seen that they have the talent and the resilience and a good coaching staff to be competitive in this league.
They definitely have a lot of potential, but what do they need to do to really take that next step and become a true contender?
Consistency is key.
Yeah.
Can Morant maintain this high level of play throughout the entire season?
Right. Can he stay healthy? We've seen how those nagging injuries have affected him in the past.
And then there's Jaren Jackson Jr. too.
Yeah.
He's been on fire lately, but can he keep that up? Can he establish himself as a true all-star caliber player?
That would be huge for them. If JJJ can consistently perform at that level, it takes a lot of pressure off Morant and makes them a much tougher team to beat.
Absolutely. It forces opponents to game plan for two major threats instead of just focusing on Morant. And then we've also talked about their versatility as a team, but can they maintain that adaptability against the top teams in the league?
Right. Can they go toe-to-toe with those teams that have more experience, more depth, and maybe even more star power?
That's the real test.
Yeah.
The playoffs will be the ultimate proving ground for this young Grizzlies team. We'll see if they can rise to the occasion.
Sounds like we've got a team that's on the verge of something special, but there are still some questions that need to be answered.
Yeah, it's like they're in this in-between phase. They're not quite contenders yet, but they're definitely not pretenders either.
It's exciting to watch. It's like we're witnessing a team finding its identity and trying to reach its full potential.
And that's what makes this season so interesting. It's not just about the wins and losses. It's about individual growth and the evolution of the team as a whole. It's about the pursuit of excellence.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the main takeaway you want to leave our listeners with today?
I want them to appreciate the complexity of this team's journey. The Grizzlies are a team worth watching, not just for their style of play, but for the story that's unfolding right in front of us.
It's a story of resilience and adaptation and the unwavering belief in their potential, and it's a story that's far from over. Who knows what the next chapter holds for this young and dynamic Grizzlies team? But one thing's for sure. It's going to be fun to watch. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll catch you next time as we explore another fascinating corner of the sports world.